First light, first fear. The sky above Botswana shimmered with something unnatural. Not stars, not satellites, something else. At 3:47 a.m. Universal Time, coordinated, the world changed. The object descended in silence. Massive, crystalline, refracting moonlight into blinding halos. It hovered over one of the largest diamond mines on Earth, casting a shadow that swallowed the dig site. Within minutes, every global media outlet lit up with the footage. By dawn, panic had rippled across continents. Elena Gray didn't see the news first. She saw the raw data. Her lab at the UN Earth Sciences Coalition in Geneva was quiet when the encrypted alert came through. She had been reviewing soil samples from Central Africa, but as soon as the feed from the African satellites came online, everything else dropped away. A diamond-rich anomaly. Non-human structure. Harmonic radiation patterns. Intelligent, deliberate. She stood frozen, the display painting her pale face with a blue glow. A single word flashed at the bottom of the screen. Contact. 2 hours later, she was in a conference chamber with half the UN Science Council and 3 very tense generals. "We can't just let it sit there," barked General Crawford, his heavy jaw clenched. "It's absorbing energy from the Earth. That's an act of aggression." "No," Elena said, stepping forward. "It's resonating. It's not stealing, it's listening." The generals turned. "You're saying it's peaceful?" Crawford asked. "I'm saying it's talking. We're trying to." She tapped the waveform data flashing on her tablet. The emissions form harmonic patterns. Complex, layered. This is structured communication, not energy mining. A pause. One of the diplomats leaned forward. "Dr. Gray, are you saying this structure is alive?" "No, but someone built it, and they want something." She hesitated. "The question is whether we answer or fire." The Valari weren't visible, not yet. Only their vessel, a hovering prism of otherworldly geometry, remained in view. Military satellites tracked dozens more entering Earth's orbit, gravitating towards sites rich in mineral crystals. Russia's Siberian deposits, Brazil's Serra Pelada, the Congo. It was deliberate, calculated. The tension mounted fast. A UN vote authorized a standby defense posture, but not an attack. Not yet. The world stood on a knife's edge. Any sudden movement could tip it into war. Meanwhile, Elena and her small team of geologists, linguists, and physicists were given a narrow window. 48 hours to make contact, understand the alien motive, and offer humanity an option besides panic. She barely slept. On the second night, just before dusk in Geneva, Elena finally heard the signal. It was faint, almost a song, rising from a sliver of quartz crystal they had placed near the African anomalies field. The harmonic frequencies weren't just sound. They were memories, emotions wrapped in tone, like music designed to speak to the nervous system directly. The Valari weren't harvesting diamonds as raw material. They were trying to read them. A whisper of awe filled her chest. "They use crystalline structures like storage, like our hard drives," she muttered aloud. "They're looking for something, maybe voices from the past." Ravi, her assistant, stared at the vibrating crystal. "What if they're not here to conquer us?" "Then we've got one hell of a chance," she said, smiling, until a red light flashed on the console. "Alert! Fire exchange detected, Botswana." The video streamed seconds later. A Valari drone had lowered itself too close to a mining convoy. The humans, already rattled, opened fire. The drone responded by emitting a high-frequency burst that shattered their equipment. Non-lethal, but aggressive enough to spark military retaliation. Elena's heart dropped as she watched the convoy retreat. The drone hovered silently, as if uncertain whether to fight back. The next screen showed military jets being scrambled. "No, no, stop," she whispered, grabbing her headset. "They don't want to fight." She sent the waveform data to command, flagged with urgent diplomatic clearance. But it was too late. A missile streaked through the sky. The feed cut out. That night, Elena stood alone on the rooftop of the Geneva complex, watching the stars. Her mind raced, but her heart stayed still. They had come to Earth for its crystals, not to hoard, but to remember. She was sure of it now. The Valari were archivists, not conquerors. But Earth was a place where fear answered first and understanding came later. Maybe too late. Her hands clenched the balcony rail. In the dark, she made herself a quiet vow. If there's even a chance to stop this, I'll take it. I don't care what it costs. Behind her, the crystal on her desk pulsed faintly. A new frequency was forming, more focused, more direct. A single harmonic phrase began to emerge, simple yet clear. Speak, share, survive. Voices through crystal. Elena didn't sleep. The harmonic phrase still echoed through her speakers. Speak, share, survive, looping endlessly like a heartbeat of alien intent. She sat at her desk, eyes fixed on the gently pulsing crystal before her. It vibrated with a rhythm that made her chest ache, not from fear, but from the sheer beauty of it. It was a voice, and no one wanted to hear it. The military response in Botswana had scorched the mine site. No one was killed, but the Valari drone vanished into the sky, leaving a scorched crater and a cloud of mistrust. The media spun it as a near invasion. Elena knew better. She gathered her team at dawn. Ravi, her assistant, looked like he hadn't slept either. His eyes were rimmed red, but full of the same fire that burned inside her. I isolated the phrase, he said. It's not just language. It's layered, data, memory, even emotion. Like it wants us to feel what it's saying. Elena nodded. The Valari aren't just talking. They're remembering. He frowned. Why Earth? She took a deep breath. Because our planet is full of natural memory. Quartz, diamonds, lattice-bound minerals. To us they're rare and beautiful. To them, they're libraries. By noon, she was in a secure chamber deep beneath Geneva, preparing for a direct transmission. The UN had reluctantly approved her request for a targeted harmonic broadcast, one last attempt at peaceful contact before military options took over. If the Valari responded, diplomacy would stay on the table. If not, she didn't want to think about what came next. The crystalline translator glowed on the console. It was still primitive. Ravi had called it alien Google Translate with a migraine, but it worked. Elena placed a small diamond shard into the receiver and whispered into the mic. We hear you. We want to understand. She activated the pulse. Moments passed. Then minutes. Nothing. Then light. The shard brightened and began to hum, notes swirling into a chord so profound Elena nearly gasped. The translation software strained to keep up, converting the patterns into spoken words. Zelther, elder of Valari, you speak with shape sound. Primitive but heard. Elena leaned closer. I'm Elena Gray, human scientist. You've come to our world. We seek peace. A pause. Your world sings. Deep cores rich with memory light. We gather what remains of those before. We do not destroy. We preserve. She swallowed. Then why hover over minds? Why not speak sooner? The shard dimmed for a moment. Sadness, maybe? Many forms before yours attacked us. Sound is our offering, often met with silence or fire. Elena blinked. The Valari had tried before, and paid for it. I believe you, but others don't. They fear what they don't understand. Then let them feel. The crystal pulsed, and a flood of memory surged from it, projected into the room. Elena fell to her knees. She saw flashes of other worlds, other beings, all reduced to ruin. She felt their confusion, their sorrow. She saw crystalline children shattering under bombardments. The Valari weren't warriors. They were archivists, refugees of silence. And now, they stood at humanity's doorstep, begging to remember before they faded forever. When Elena rose, her cheeks were wet. Zelther, she whispered, let me come to you. Let me prove there's more to us than fear. Silence. Then, come. Orbit vessel awaits. Time is small. Harmony is hope. The shuttle ride was fast, silent, and suffocating with pressure. Elena sat strapped into the lone seat aboard the UN diplomatic pod. Through the small viewport, she saw the Valari ship in orbit, a vast crystalline lattice reflecting Earth's light like a fractured diamond. It hummed in frequencies her ears couldn't hear, but her soul did. The docking was seamless. No guards, No weapons. Only light. Inside, the walls shimmered like liquid crystal. Forms moved. Valari, tall and thin, their bodies refracting light through translucent limbs. One approached, glowing a soft amber. "Zelther," it said, voice inside her mind rather than in the air. Elena stepped forward, heart pounding. "Thank you for this." He extended a branch-like limb, crystalline and trembling. "You are the first to feel." He led her through halls lined with glowing diamonds, each containing fragments of memory. Alien cities, lost songs, laughter, death. They were curating all of it, building a final archive before they faded. "This is your purpose?" she asked. "Yes. Before a light dims, we must remember. Your planet sings with memory." She stopped walking. "But it's our home. If you take too much." "We do not take. We only ask." But even asking can be misheard. She looked at him, the alien form radiating soft warmth. "Then let me be your voice. Let me help him understand." Zelther bowed. "Then harmony may still live." Back on Earth, the media screamed about traitors, spies, and secret meetings. Elena didn't care. She had walked among memory. She had seen the last hope of a dying race. And now, she had to convince humanity to listen before it was too late. Fire and memory. Elena's return to Earth was not the welcome she'd hoped for. The UN Council chamber buzzed with hushed urgency. Half the diplomats barely concealed their suspicion. The rest struggled to process the footage Elena had brought back. Holographic memory streams of alien worlds, families, even grief carved into diamond. But the military leaders remained unmoved. "This could be fabricated," General Crawford snapped. "A trick. Classic psychological warfare." "They saved my life," Elena countered, her voice low but firm. "They let me walk freely through their archive. No weapons. No threats." Crawford's glare sharpened. "So you took a stroll through alien history, and now you're their ambassador?" She held up the crystal shard she'd returned with. It glowed faintly in her palm. "This holds more than history. It holds feeling. You don't just see their past. You feel it. They're trying to preserve the voices of the dead." He leaned back, folding his arms. "And Earth's diamonds just happen to be the perfect storage device." "Yes," she said, "but they're asking, and we haven't listened." An emergency aide burst through the doors, interrupting the session. "Sir, we've lost contact with Valari Orbit Station 2. Something's wrong." Elena was already sprinting down the corridor when the explosion shook the ground. Through the glass wall of the Geneva compound, she saw it. Fire in the sky. One of the Valari ships orbiting over Brazil was in flames, crystalline debris scattering like glass confetti across the stratosphere. Sirens wailed. The war room lit up. Unidentified human warship fired a ballistic missile, a technician reported. "We believe it's Commander Harlan's rogue fleet from the Pacific. He defied the ceasefire order." "No," Elena whispered. She ran to the comms desk, slamming her palm onto the console. "Broadcast global now." Her image filled every screen on Earth. "This is Dr. Elena Gray. I've just returned from the Valari vessel. They are not our enemies. They came not for conquest, but to preserve the last fragments of their people." She held the glowing shard before the camera. "They see diamonds not as riches, but as memory. Our planet sings with the raw material of remembrance. And yet, we answered with fire." Tears welled in her eyes, unashamed. "They are dying, and now we are helping them die faster." She paused, voice trembling. "I felt their pain. You can too." The feed shifted. Her team had synced the crystal's contents into the broadcast. Around the world, millions of viewers suddenly saw what Elena had seen. Cities made of light, children playing among singing stones, a planet shattered into silence, the ache of a civilization fading into dust. And then they saw Earth, shining with potential. A second chance. On the Valari ship, Zelther was silent. His form had dimmed since the attack. Elena's visit had taken a toll on his energy. Now, the missile strike had drained him further. The chamber of memory flickered weakly. Cracks formed in some of the memory crystals. One by one, Valari gathered around their elder, humming low harmonic tones, an ancient rite of mourning. "Zelther," A younger Valari said. Shall we return to the void? He pulsed faintly. Not yet. One voice still sings. Elena waited in the Geneva compound, heart thudding. No response came for hours. Then, at dusk, the sky shimmered. A smaller Valari vessel descended, hovering low over the UN complex. This time, it bore a different tone. Not defensive, not curious, hopeful. From the belly of the ship descended a crystal sphere. It unfolded like a flower and revealed. Zelther, weak and dim but alive. Elena ran forward, breaking protocol, stopping only feet from him. You came back, she whispered. He extended a faintly glowing limb. Your voice reached many. Around them, cameras flashed. Journalists, scientists, soldiers, all witnessing the moment humanity chose to listen. Elena nodded slowly, voice thick with emotion. Then let this be the beginning. Later that night, world leaders voted. A historic accord was signed. Earth would offer select, non-essential crystalline resources to the Valari in exchange for cultural knowledge, technology, and a shared use of orbital space for peaceful development. The first joint human-Valari research station was approved for construction on the moon. In her lab, Elena watched the crystal pulse gently on her desk. Ravi walked in, a small grin on his face. You just stopped a war. She smiled faintly. No, we listened just in time. The crystal whispered softly again, new harmonics forming. Together, we remember. The shared sky. The moon never looked so full. From the observation deck of Unity Station, the first joint human-Valari orbital research facility, Elena watched Earth rise beyond the lunar horizon, its swirling blue surface calm for the first time in weeks. Beneath that sky, the world had changed. Diamonds were no longer just symbols of wealth, but of memory, and the Valari were no longer seen as invaders, but as partners in remembrance. Elena placed her hand against the smooth glass. We made it, she whispered. Behind her, soft harmonic tones echoed down the corridor. Valari researchers singing data into crystalline lattice panels. Their voices wove a melody of curiosity, sadness, and hope, echoing gently through the metallic halls. Zelther stood among them. His glow was steadier now, still dimmer than before, but stable. He was aging, his energy waning, yet there was peace in his posture. Your world sings with new tones, he said as Elena approached. Even in sorrow, it remembers joy. She nodded. It took everything, panic, fire, nearly losing you, to hear it. Zelther tilted his head, his limbs folding inwards like clasped hands. That is the cost of understanding, but also the reward. They walked in silence for a moment, past a row of floating crystals suspended in zero gravity. Some contained fragments of Valari history. Others now glowed with human moments. A child's laugh in a Johannesburg playground, a wedding in Kyoto, a jazz melody from New Orleans captured and stored like a living echo. We've started encoding human memories, Elena explained. The crystals bond more efficiently with emotion-rich sounds than we expected. Your species is rich in feeling, Zelther said. That is a power, perhaps your greatest. Back on Earth, the Accord had met resistance. Some governments balked at the idea of sharing resources, even symbolic ones. Others feared technology falling into the wrong hands. And many still distrusted the Valari, no matter what Elena's broadcast had shown. But every time a doubt surfaced, a new memory was shared. An elderly woman in Poland offered a locket's worth of diamond to store the last voice message from her late husband. A group of children in Mumbai sang their favorite lullabies into a quartz array and sent it skyward. The archive was growing, not just alien, not just human, but shared. And with each offering, fear ebbed just a little more. 2 weeks after the station opened, Elena received word that Zelther's energy was fading. Not from injury or malice, but simply time. His cycle was nearing its end. She visited his private chamber. He was reclining within a crystal cocoon, the tones of his being slowing, softening. You gave us a chance, she whispered, kneeling beside him. He touched her hand gently. You listened. That is what saved us both. Tears welled in her eyes. I'm not ready to say goodbye. Zelther's glow dimmed to a calm violet, a Valari color of peace. Then do not say it. Say only this, continue the song. A week later, Elena stood before a crowd on Earth. The UN had declared an International Remembrance Day, honoring the turning point in Earth's history, when communication triumphed over conflict. A new monument stood in Geneva, a spiral of human and Valari memory crystals entwined like DNA strands, each playing gentle harmonies as people passed. Elena's speech was simple. We faced the unknown with fear. We reacted with fire. But then we listened. And because of that, we now carry the voices of two worlds. She looked up, voice soft. Let this be what we remember. That no matter how different we seem, the language of memory, music, and empathy can bind even distant stars together. Later, in her lab, she placed one last crystal into a silver mount on her desk. It hummed softly with Zelther's final message, his essence now stored alongside the countless memories he had preserved. To those who come after, may you speak not first with fear, but with curiosity. May your questions be shaped not by what you can take, but what you can learn. In that harmony, we are never truly lost. Elena wiped a tear from her cheek. Ravi entered, carrying a datapad. New harmonic signature detected, he said. Not Valari. Something else. Elena stood. She smiled. Well, she said, reaching for the console. Let's see who's trying to remember us.